like his moves. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Imai and I just do makeup and talk shit. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie Jingle All the Way. I went out of town to get an MRI last week, which is why my video schedule was kind of wonky. And while I was staying at my best friend's house to, because it was out of town, it was a couple hours away, I didn't want to drive back and forth. I hate doing that drive, so I stayed at her house for those few days that I was out of town, and we watched Jingle All the Way. And oh my god, I had to, as soon as I watched it, I was like, I have to do a BEATFACE films on this because this movie is absolutely horrible. 0 out of 10, very, very bad. Hopefully I say this every video, but hopefully I don't take long breaks like that anymore. I just had other obligations, and it's been kind of hard for me to get back into the swing of things since I've been gone. But I'm back now, and hopefully you guys like this. I had a lot of fun filming it just because this movie is so bad it gives me a lot to talk about. So hopefully you guys like it, and I'll see you in like a second, I guess. So I did my brows off camera as I usually do. I don't know if I like them. I feel like they kind of look bad, but it is what it is. So, and today we're going to be talking about the terrible movie Jingle All the Way. I saw it, I think, like once as a kid, and then I know Jenna and Julian talked about it on their podcast, I think last year, and then I watched it again when I went out of town. I told you guys in my last video I was going out of town to get an MRI, but I have a cyst in my wrist and it's been causing me a lot of problems, so I went to go get an MRI, and I stayed at my best friend's house with her family for a few days, and while I was there we watched Jingle All the Way, and oh my god, it's so bad. I was like, I have to do this for BEATFACE films on Friday, and I know it's Saturday, but like, shh, we're trying, okay? I went out of town and it messed up my whole schedule, so we're trying. So Jingle All the Way came out in 1996, is a family comedy Christmas movie. Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger are like rival fathers trying to get the same toy for their sons on Christmas Eve. And oh my god, I don't want to say hilarity ensues because it's not hilarious. It's hilariously bad, but we're going to talk about it. This movie was directed by Brian Levin. It was written by Randy Cornfield and Chris Columbus. The budget was $75 million and it made $129.8 million, so technically it was successful in the box office, but like it wasn't that successful. It only made back what they spent, because like subtraction, they only made about like 70 something million. And on Rotten Tomatoes it has a 15% approval rating. 15. So I'm gonna figure out what I'm doing with my face, and then we're gonna get started. Also, let's not judge me for this wig. I literally, first of all, I have to repair it because I have like tracks loose, and I just threw it on my head because I was wearing a U-part wig, and then I was like, I'm tired of this for right now, so I'm gonna go back to my frontal. So that's what I did. So now I'm wearing my frontal. Alright, so the movie starts, and the young son, his name is Jamie. He looks about 6 years old, and he's watching a show on TV called Turbo Man, and it gives like real like Power Ranger vibes, like low budget with the cheesy costumes and like the over exaggerating fighting, like those vibes, Am I too far away? Let me zoom in. Right? Is that better? I think that's better. Okay. And he's doing the moves, he's saying the catchphrase with the characters like this. You could tell like this is his show. He loves this show. And the mom is like, Jamie, time to turn off the TV. You have your karate ceremony to go to. And I never did karate as a kid, but I know like when you have to, like when you reach a certain point, you get a certain color belt. So I guess this was one of the belt ceremonies that he had to go to, since he was going to get his purple belt this day. So the scene cuts to the dad's office, and they're having a Christmas party, but he's upstairs working, and he's on the phone. So I think he sells mattresses. I'm not 100% sure. Like they never really say what he does, but there's a whole bunch of mattresses. So I think he like works at a place that sells a bunch of, because he was selling like 200 at a time. So I think that they sell the mattresses to like mattress stores so that the mattress stores can sell it to consumers. You see what I'm saying? So he's on the phone and then with all his customers and he's like, you're my #1 customer. And then the mom calls, or his wife, and she's like, Howard, Arnold Schwarzenegger's name is Howard in this movie. He's like, Howard, don't forget about our son's karate tournament or belt ceremony. Well, they call it karate class, but it's the belt ceremony. And he's like, I won't forget. And as he's on the phone with his wife, his assistant comes up and she's holding up these signs that say you have to go if you want to make it to his son's thing. And he's like, I got this, like I'm gonna go. And she's like, you said that a half an hour ago. And he's like, I'm gonna leave, like I'll make it, I'll be fine. So he's rushing out, getting his coat on, and she's just like, he's not gonna make it. So of course, since it's around Christmas time, he's leaving work and there's a bunch of traffic, and his smart ass decides, I'm just gonna drive on the shoulder. See, I don't do highway driving because I know I'm a bad driver, and just my luck, I will either hit someone will hit me, or I will get pulled over. So I don't drive on the highway, but I do know driving on the shoulder is very illegal, and maybe something you shouldn't do for safety purposes. What if a car is pulled over on this? This isn't a driving lesson. So he's driving on the shoulder, and it's like bumper to bumper traffic, like they're not moving, and one of the cars in the like waiting in traffic is a cop car or a cop motorcycle. do they even do those anymore? Cop motorcycles, because they don't have all the equipment that they need, and I don't know. So he pulls over and the cop is doing like the field sobriety, like basically just taking up his time. And we cut back to the karate class and Jamie's doing his little like his moves, and the mom is sitting in the bleachers with the neighbor. His name is, let me look at my notes, I think it's Ted. Whatever, I think it's Ted. But he's sitting with the other karate moms, and the karate moms, I guess Ted is like a handyman, like he fixes things. So the other karate moms are like on his body. They're like, thank you so much, I made you these cookies. You didn't have to do the work you did on my home, but it was wonderful and I thank you. Like they were, like he was dripping in bitches. You know, the mom is sitting there like, ugh, but you know, she's sitting with the neighbor, like that's the neighbor, that's my friend, and my husband's not here, so I'm just gonna sit and chat with the neighbor. So we cut back to Howard still in traffic, still getting pulled over by this cop, and we just know that he's not gonna make it. So by the time the cop lets him go and he gets to the school, the lights are off in the building, but he still decides to like walk through it to the gymnasium, which I think is stupid because all the lights are off. Like what, you think they're gonna turn off the lights in the rest of the school and then the gym is open? So he goes to the gymnasium where it was being held, and of course the janitor's in there sweeping. It's over, which we should have already knew. So the dad gets home and Jamie's watching Turbo Man, and the dad, Howard, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Well, he doesn't say sorry, but he's like, oh, Jamie, like, I missed your thing. And Jamie ignores him, runs up to his room and reads his Turbo Man comic. And the dad is just trying to like be like, Jamie, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't mean to. I just got caught up at work. And he's like, yeah, you get caught up at work a lot, Dad. Like, this purple belt was like super important to me and you missed it. He's like, I was there when you got your yellow belt. He's like, yeah, but you missed my blue belt. Like, you're always at work. And the dad is like, well, what do you want? Like, how can I make this up to you? Something special, you know? And he's like, I want the Turbo Man doll. With all that, he's an action figure. He's got the catchphrases and the moves and the like the little action thingies. What are they called? Like the little lasers, and he has the voice box. I want Turbo Man. And he's like, bro, I got you. Cut to 2 weeks later. It's Christmas Eve, the morning of Christmas Eve. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Howard, and Mom, they're talking. And I don't remember what exactly the conversation was, but the doll gets mentioned in this conversation. Like, Jamie's gonna be so excited or something like that. She's like, you got the doll, right? And he's like, She's like, I know you like, I told you this 2 weeks ago. What, you got the doll, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, I got the doll. It's in the office. I left it at the office. You know he didn't get the doll. He's a terrible father. So they get dressed for the day, and Dad, Howard, he's running out of the house. She's like, where are you going? It's Christmas Eve. And he's like, well, I left the doll at the office. I'm gonna go pick it up. And she's like, okay. And the son is like, well, don't forget to be back in time for the Christmas Day parade. It has like some special name, but it's essentially the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. The Christmas parade. So he's like, I won't miss it, I promise. Maybe he should stop promising this kid things, because we see how that's worked out in the past. So he walks out to the car and he sees the neighbor Ted, who was putting the schmoves on his honey, and he was like, oh, you're getting your kid the Turbo Man doll? I got my kid the Turbo Man doll 2 weeks ago. And he's like, oh yeah, thanks Ted, bye. His name might not even be Ted. I might just be making that up. I think it's Ted though. And literally just in my notes, it literally just says the neighbor. Howard is outside the toy store and he's waiting to get in, and he's talking to this mailman who they try to make it seem like he's crazy. The mailman is Sinbad. They try to make it seem like he's crazy. His name is Myron, and he's not. He goes on this rant about capitalism and how, you know, it's controlling our kids and our society. And they tried to make it seem like he was crazy, but Sinbad was right about capitalism. They be bugging. So the toy store worker opens the door and it's hell. I don't see a lot of stories about it now, but I feel like I remember when I was a kid hearing about Black Friday or seeing the news articles, news on TV of people just trampling people, a lot of people getting stomped on, trampled on. I don't think that happens very much now, just because, you know, we're in the digital age and people are ordering their stuff online, and of course COVID, people weren't able to go out and trample each other. I mean, they were in my state, but people were scared to go out and trample each other. But I feel like I heard a lot about people trampling. It was like that. It was like a hot mess. They were trampling each other to get to this Turbo Man toy, and the Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger are looking at each other, and they're looking around for the Turbo Man, and everywhere they see it says sold out, sold out, sold out. So he goes to one of the workers and he's like, all the Turbo Man dolls are sold out, like, do you have any in the back? And they laugh in his face. And bro, I've worked retail for almost 6 years, and I wish I could laugh in somebody's face, because the questions I get asked. So of course, you know, Arnold, I'm gonna call him Arnold throughout the thing, but the character's name is Howard. He gets angry and he like snatches him up, because, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's the big buff guy. They have to have him doing big buff tough guy stuff. So they snatch him up, and then essentially I don't remember why he leaves, but of course they leave because there's no Turbo Man dolls there. So he goes all around the town, all around the city looking for this doll, and of course nowhere has it. And back at home, the neighbor is with his wife putting the schmoves on her. Like, they're making cookies. He's like taking care of the kids, because his son went over to Jamie. I don't know if they ever say the wife's name, but Jamie and his mom's house, like, so the kids are playing together, and then they're making cookies for the kids, and he's putting the schmoves on her, like buttering her up like a damn biscuit. So Arnold Schwarzenegger's on the streets just walking around looking for another toy store, looking for someone that could possibly be selling his Turbo Man doll, and he runs into the mailman, and the mailman is like, we could do this together, like, we've been working separately, but we're working towards the same goal. Like, it doesn't make sense for us to be separated. Why not just work together? And Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, no. Is it racism? It's racism. Arnold goes to a mall, and in the Mall of America, by the way, I think that's the biggest mall in the country, they're having a raffle for the Turbo Man doll. I guess this mall had a small quantity of Turbo Man dolls in the mall, so they were doing they're auctioning it off. So they had buckets of bouncy balls that had a number on them, and it was like a raffle. Like, if they call your number, you get the doll. So of course, there's a huge crowd, and there's only but so many people who have bouncy balls, like these buckets of balls. So as soon as they're able to, chaos. chaos. People go diving for the ball, fighting each other, and Arnold Schwarzenegger has one ball and Sinbad takes it from him, and he's like, yeah, I got it, and Arnold is like, he has 2 balls, get him. So they attack him and the ball goes flying and he chases this ball all around the mall. Mind you, this little chase, they could see him, he gets on like escalators, elevators, like he's chasing this thing all around the mall, and I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't they have called the numbers by now? Like, wouldn't the raffle be over by now? Logic, I guess. So he's chasing this ball and ends up in the possession of a child. Like, it bounces into the stroller and the kid has the little yellow ball with the number on it. So he's chasing this kid around through, like, I know some mall, you know how McDonald's used to have like those jungle gym play area things? Like, one of those is in the mall. So the kid is in there with the ball and he's like chasing the kid around, and they end up in a ball pit. So he just picks up one of the balls from the ball pit, is like, hey little girl, like, let's trade. I'll take that ball, you take this ball. And of course the moms are like, what the fuck is going on? So they beat his ass because he's a creep. And you pervert, all up in the ball pit with that little girl, you're a pervert. And he's like, I'm not a pervert, I'm just trying to get the Turbo Man. And he's like, I'm not a pervert, I'm just trying to get the Turbo Man doll. And the mall Santa hears him and he's like, oh, you're trying to get the Turbo Man doll? And he's like, yeah. And Santa's like, I got you. And he's like, what are you talking about? So Santa basically says that he has a secret like toy black market, and he has a Turbo Man doll. So they take him to the warehouse, the sketchiest warehouse, like looking like prison crown. And there's like, it's mad sketchy in there. There's hella Santas, and they are just packing up these like little black market toys. And he's like selling him the Turbo Man doll for $300. They never said how much the Turbo Man was, but $300 for a doll, it was 1996. I wouldn't even pay $300 for a doll today. So he gives him the money, and then he starts to open up the doll, and the Santa's like, no, don't open it up. And the doll speaks Spanish. And he's like, oh, well, it's educational, like you can still give it to him. And then he opens the box to like take the doll out, and the doll falls apart. But they're con artists, but they did not like it that he called them con artists. So the Santas, all the Santas, they jump him. And then the cops bust in and they raid the place of this illegal like toy black market. And as Howard's about to get arrested, he sees a cop badge and a pair of cuffs, and he fakes like he's a cop or like a chief. And he gets his ass out of there. They just like believe him, and he's able to go free. So as he's leaving this raid, his car breaks down, so he pushes his car to a diner. Back at the house, this neighbor is still all up on the wife's body, and the neighbor got a reindeer for the neighborhood kids, so like they could, you know, look, it's your reindeer, like it's like a whole thing, like it's, oh, bruh. Yeah, so they got a reindeer for the neighborhood kids. And the neighbor guy, his name, Ted, his son, I think his name is Johnny. He's like, my dad never used to be this cool before he got a divorce. Your parents should get a divorce so that your dad can be cool too. And Jamie runs across, this kid is like 6 years old. He runs across the street back to his house by himself. And his mom's just looking like, oh, Jamie. And it's like, your child just ran across the street. So at the diner, Arnold Schwarzenegger is there, and there's a payphone in the diner, so he calls home and he wants to speak to his wife, but Jamie answers the phone and he's like, Dad, you know, keeping your promises, like you gotta be at the parade later. The dad is like brushing him off. He's like, yeah, Jamie, just put your mom on the phone. And he's like, yeah, Dad, like it's like really important to me that you show up. Like Mom and I go every year, and you haven't been in a couple years or so, and I want you to be there. And he's like, I'll be there, put your mom on the phone. He's like, yeah, Dad, but like you break your promises, and you know, Turbo Man says that you have to keep your promises. And the dad is like, I'm done with Turbo Man. Like, fuck Turbo Man, like I'm done. And the kid is so sad. So he hangs up the phone and he's like, oh, I'm such a bad father. I just yelled at my son. So he sits down at the diner, at the table, and the mailman, Sinbad, is there. And he's like, oh, you? And he was like, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, hey, mailman, we should like work together again. We should work together to find this thing. Like, I really gotta find this thing for my kid. And Sinbad's like, no, I tried to work with you and you told me no, so no. And over the radio, there's a radio contest, and the man on the radio says like, ooh, he says like, we're giving away a free Turbo Man if you can name all 8 reindeer. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like saying it under his breath, and he's like, oh, I got the answer, I can get the Turbo Man. So they're rushing to get to the phone so they can call the radio station, and they end up fighting and breaking the phone. And the guy who works at the diner, the waiter, he's like, you know, the station isn't too far from here. Like, you guys can go there and see if you can win like that. So they're running down the street, like fighting with each other, trying to get to the station. Who gets to the station first? And as Sinbad is running, like, he's a mailman, so he has his bag of mail with him. And as he's running, he's tossing mail at him, trying to like, I don't know, like skew him from his goal, like throwing mail at him. And I'm like, that is a federal offense. That is a federal offense. You can't do that. So they're racing to get to the station, and they get to the station, but Arnold Schwarzenegger gets there first. He kicks in the door, the glass shatters, and he's like, I got the answer to the question. And the guy calls the cops. He's like, what the fuck? Because you just busted into my station and broke my door. I don't know who you are. And then Sinbad gets there, and he's like, I have a gun. No. He's like, I have a bomb. And I'll blow this bitch up if he'll give me that Turbo Man. And they like fall to the floor, and then when he goes to throw the bomb, it's just a music box. And I guess this was around that time where people were like sending like bombs in the mail. Like, you know, I think someone did that to Bjork, and then like the Unabomber, you know? So that was big then, so I guess he used that. Yeah, he's like, I got the answer, give me the Turbo Man. The guy, the radio station man is like, you thought I had a Turbo Man like here in the office? And he's like, yeah, that's what you said. He's like, no, I don't have a Turbo Man in the office. I have a voucher so that when Turbo Mans are back in stock, you can get a free Turbo Man. And they are not liking that. So when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad go to beat him up, the cops that he called when they busted in pull up. And to get out of it, Sinbad does the same thing. He's like, I have a bomb. And it holds him off for a little until the guys get downstairs. But it was actually a bomb this time. It didn't blow up like the whole building. It just blew up like the one cop who handled the bomb. And like 40 cops showed up. Okay, I'm dragging it. Like 7 or 8 cops showed up. And I'm like, y'all don't show up like this for real danger. I mean, I guess it's because a black man was busted into a building. Arnold Schwarzenegger gets back to his car and it's vandalized. It's broken into, the tires are gone. So he just walks back to the house. So he walks back to the house. Through the window, he could see homeboy, neighbor dude, putting the star on top of the tree. And I don't know how we were supposed to know this because we were not given any prior knowledge of this, but apparently putting the star on the tree is Howard's job. You don't another man doesn't put a star on my tree. So he is pissed. So he's like, I know what I'm gonna do. Remember when he told me that he got a Turbo Man for his son? Snatched, it's mine. So he breaks into this man's house, which is directly across the street. So you could probably, if you looked out of, if he was putting the star on his tree, and he looked out of his window to his house, he could see him breaking into his house. But you know, he did. So he successfully gets the doll from out of the house, and as he's walking outside, the reindeer is there, and he's just like, oh my god, like I should have took that Turbo Man, I'm gonna put it back. And the reindeer attacks him. They both run into the house, and he knocks, I think he has like a set of figurines of the birth of Jesus. I can't remember what it's called right now, but he has a set of those figurines. And as he's running from the reindeer, he backs up into it, and it knocks one of the heads off of Balthazar. that sounds wrong, but the neighbor said it. It knocks one of the heads off of one of the figurines, it falls into the fireplace, and the living room starts to catch on fire. Or well, it's not like a full, like the whole house isn't on fire, but like it's spreading. Like he puts his leg in the fire, so the carpet catches on fire, and it's like he's not setting the whole house ablaze, but it's like it's not a good situation. So you know the neighbors see the smoke. Well, the wife and the neighbor see the smoke and run to his house, and they're like, hey, I was gonna call him Harold. They're like, Howard, what are you doing? And he was like, it's not what it looks like. And the wife's like, well, what does it look like? Because, like, what is it? Because it looks like we're stealing the Turbo Man from his house. And he's like, I mean, yeah, but... And he's like, you know what? They don't say it, like, outright, but the wife is kind of like, divorce. Like, I don't want to be with a man who thinks it's okay to steal from children. So she's like, I am going to the parade with my son. Do whatever you're doing, but I'm going to the parade with my son. So she leaves with the neighbor. She's like, Ted, can you drive us to the parade? And Ted's like, yeah. So Ted, his son, the wife, and their son go to the parade, and Howard is there looking like an idiot. So he's in the front yard or the backyard. I can't remember what part of the house they're in. I don't know if they explicitly said, but it kind of looked like the backyard. And he's sitting drinking some beer with the reindeer. He's giving the reindeer beer. I'm lying. We gotta go back. So after the wife and Ted are like, we're going to the parade with or without you, he punches the reindeer in the face. So they're sitting in the front yard and he's drinking a beer with this reindeer. I'm gonna do my liner and then come back. So in the next scene, oh my god, the neighbor, the mom, and the two kids are in the car driving to the parade, and the kids are like, can we get out of the car? Like, there's my favorite guy. I don't know. They're 6. Like, they don't look, okay, I don't know, white kids are kind of small, but they look no older than like 8 years old. I don't think white kids are small. Black kids are big as fuck. They're like, they're tiny little kids. Like, why are you letting your child get out of the car and walk around a parade by themselves? The kids get out of the car, and as soon as the kids get out of the car, the neighbor is putting the schmooves on Shorty. He is like, we can't deny these feelings between us. And she's like, feelings? He's like, yeah, like, your husband isn't shit, so be with me. But he goes to like kiss her, and she shoves him off of her, as she should, because he's a creep. So the dad, Howard, he sees the kids walking through the parade. So she's like, ew, and then she gets out of the car. So Howard sees the kids in the street, and he's like running towards them, and he ends up spilling coffee all over this cop. And the cop is the same cop that pulled him over in the beginning, and we saw the cop a little bit throughout the movie, but I didn't think it was important to mention it just because it was like little comedic bits that really didn't have anything to do with the plot. So the cop is chasing him, and he runs into a parade float to escape from the cop. And as soon as he gets into the float, the team of people who are like working on the float are like, are you the guy? All right, we're gonna get you in the suit. Everyone get him suited up. And he's like, what is that now? What? And then, like, so it's frantic. They're getting him in the suit. And they push him to the forefront, or they push him to the top of the float, like where the kids can see him and everything. And of course, he's Turbo Man. So he's on the float, and he's like, yeah, I can get used to this. And just being like a guy, you know how guys are. And Turbo Man is supposed to pick a child to receive the new Turbo Man doll. And of course, Howard looks out into the crowd and he sees his son. So he, of course, picks his son to receive the Turbo Man doll, because duh, he spent this whole movie looking for this doll for his kid. So Jamie goes up on the float, and as Jamie goes up on the float, the mailman is dressed as Turbo Man's like arch nemesis in the TV show, and he goes to steal the toy away from Jamie. The world's longest fight scene ensues. It's probably like 10 minutes, like I'm not even joking, it's really long. and they go back and forth like with the toy. We learn that Howard's like suit, the Turbo Man suit that they put him in, has like actual powers. He can actually fly. There's actual lasers. So him and the mailman are fighting, trying to get this toy back for the kid. And Jamie's like terrified. Like it's like, whoa, so cool, Turbo Man is saving me, but also I need to be saved. Jamie's like terrified, but he's also kind of eating it up that his favorite superhero is here to like actually save him in real life. So the world's longest fight scene, and then at the end of the fight scene, of course, Turbo Man wins, and he gives the doll back to his son. And he just looks at Arnold Schwarzenegger in this suit, and he's like, man, I wish my dad were here to see me get saved by Turbo Man. He always does this. He's never here for me. And then Turbo Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, gives this long speech about how, you know, his dad loves him and he's his dad's favorite person. And, you know, his dad would do anything for him and his dad is so sorry. And then he takes off. He's like, well, how would you know that, Turbo Man? And Turbo Man is like, who would know better than your own dad? And he like takes off the helmet, and Jamie's like, Dad! And the wife is like, Howard? As if Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't have like the most distinct voice out of anyone ever. And they're like, Howard, it was you? And he's like, yes, it was. I'm not good at impressions, but he's like, it was me, Turbo Man, the whole time. I don't know what accent that was. And then I guess the cops are arresting the mailman because although he's dressed up in this suit like the arch nemesis, he did actually like attack a child. So as he's getting arrested, the son Jamie is like, wait. He gives the mailman the Turbo Man doll, and this Turbo Man doll isn't the cute little like Bratz doll sized doll that we've been looking at this entire movie. It's massive. You know, like those dolls that are like at least a foot, maybe 2 feet tall, that come in those like really big boxes. Like, it's one of those. Like, not the same doll that they've been looking for this entire time. And he gives this doll, this massive doll, this completely different doll that they've been looking for, to the mailman as he's getting arrested to give to his son, because I don't need the Turbo Man doll. My dad is Turbo Man. My dad is the real hero. Which is nice. It's a good gesture. But you were real life attacked by that man like 10 minutes ago. That's the end of the movie. But they go back to the house and the dad is putting the star on the tree, and she's like, wow, Howard, you put in all that effort for our son. What did you get me? And he's like, wow, but I didn't do shit. And then the movie's over. One thought I had about this movie throughout the whole time is, wife, shorty, sweetie, what? He was a terrible father for a long time. For a very long time. At one point in the movie, the kid even says, you haven't been to the Christmas parade with me and mom for a couple of years. Like, he's a bad dad. You were all set up with the neighbor guy before he tried to assault you. It sucks that that didn't work out. You go find another guy. Like, Howard has been an awful husband, and now since he was Turbo Man one time, he didn't even do that on purpose. Like, that was an accident, and now he's ready to be this wonderful, loving husband. Like, everything fixed. Merry Christmas. I don't know. I just think it's weird. The acting in this movie was terrible. It was awful. The acting in this movie. Who was this for? The commentary on capitalism, though, A+, because I was born in '99. I wasn't around for the big Cabbage Patch doll craze, but I think this movie was sort of based on that. No, but this movie was awful. The plot could have been something good if the writers knew how to develop it, if they got better actors. Why did they cast him in this? I don't know. Why was Sinbad's acting was the worst I've ever done anything. Arnold wasn't good, but he wasn't as bad as Sinbad. The kid did better than them. So, it's just a lot of flawed logic in this movie. I think the wife was an idiot. to get back with him is because he's a bad father. He literally robbed your neighbor and set the house on fire. He punched a reindeer in the face, gave the reindeer beer. He hasn't been there for your son's karate tournaments literally ever. He's just not a good guy. Why are you with him? Get a new man. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's not that hot. I mean, he was a very attractive man in that movie. He looked good. I'll put a picture. He looked good. But you deserve better, babe. I don't know what else to say about this movie. I give this movie a 4 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 5 just because it kept me entertained. But overall, this movie was kind of trash. I would watch it again to laugh at it. Not by myself. Like, if I had it over friends and we needed something to watch to laugh at, I would put on Jingle all the way. I don't know how to end this. I don't know what the takeaway from this is. Get a better husband. Reliability. Don't punch reindeers in the face. I don't know, but it wasn't a good movie. It made me laugh because it was bad. But like genuine haha funny moments, no. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time. I hope you really liked this one. I hope this, I don't know how long I've been filming for because I filmed it in little pieces, but hopefully this isn't too long. Let me know if you guys like the longer style videos or if you think I should try. I tried to paraphrase, like summarize. That's why some details of the story were left out, but I didn't want to sit here for like an hour and a half talking about this movie just because the time you took watching this movie, you literally could have just watched the movie. So I tried to paraphrase as much as possible. Let me know if you guys like this. If I get some more time on my hands, if the country shuts down again, praying on it, then I'll have more time to make these, and I probably will. I don't know if this will be up before or after my night routine. I want to put this one up after so you guys can see. So it's a break because I did 2 BTVs in a row and then a BEATFACE film. I want to break it up with some regular content. So I don't know when this will be out, but hopefully you guys liked it. It was fun making this. Alright, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna stop rambling. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.